Hello everyone, my name is Jimmy and welcome back to the channel. In today's episode of Rippin' the Fence, we're going to be breaking down everything from Atlanta Motor Speedway. But before I hop into the video, I just want to quickly remind you guys, hit that like button and subscribe button. We would greatly appreciate it if you guys did that. Thank you all so much for your support. Let's go ahead and hop into the video. Matthew, my friend and co-host, is joining me on the show as always, and we had another triple header this weekend, this time from Atlanta. So Matthew, how are you doing before we go ahead and hop into everything that happened this weekend?
I am still recovering after what we just witnessed tonight. Wow. There's literally no words to describe the race that we had today. What a amazing weekend in general. Of course, Kyle was able to win in the truck series in a truck that he does not own for the first time in like 15 years or something like that. Which was fun to watch. Xfinity race was very boring. I'm sorry. I felt like I was about to fall asleep during that race. But the Cup race, on the other hand, we need to get into that because we got so much to talk about from today. And let's not waste any more time. We got to get into this.
Yeah, you pretty much already summed up the truck and Xfinity race. Truck race, Kyle Busch ended up getting the win there. And I do want to quickly shout out the truck series because they did put on a lot better of a show than Daytona. They seem to behave themselves a little bit more. So great job, truck series drivers, for being a little bit more calm and respectable out there on the racetrack. Maybe it's because Kyle Busch was in the race, like you said at the end of the other video about, these drivers not having Cup drivers in the field and all that kind of stuff. But anyways, yeah, the truck race, Kyle Busch won that one. The Xfinity race, Austin freaking Hill, man. Like, this guy, he always finds a way to win. He could dominate the race, lead every lap. He could wreck on lap 2 and find his way back to the win. And from this weekend, he could literally just have the luckiest win ever and have everybody in front of him run out of fuel and then hang on to win the race. So Austin Hill once again gets the win at one of these drafting tracks. And then the Cup race, we'll go ahead and hop into all the details. Several different incidents we have to break down for you guys. So there was a wreck on lap 2 this race. Martin Truex Jr. got into Austin Dillon, and Bubba Wallace got spun out as well, and that set off a massive crash that involved, I don't even know how many cars, 15, 20, 25 cars, something like that. Very big wreck in turn 1. Took out drivers like Christopher Bell, Gregson, Williams, Tyler Reddick. He had a lot of damage he couldn't keep up, and Alex Bowman, he also had a lot of damage that trapped him several laps down as well. And then there was an incident coming to pit road under green. William Byron and Michael McDowell, they made contact. Looked like Michael McDowell locked up the rear tires and just got loose and spun out and collected William Byron. They both hit the inside wall. No caution for that, surprisingly. I figured NASCAR would have thrown a caution for that, but I guess since they were in the middle of green flag pit stops, they really wanted to see if they could get going. So they did not throw a caution for that one, but it was a incident that I figured we should report about. And then on the backstretch going into turn 3, Ross Chastain strikes again against my favorite driver, Chase Elliott. He gave him a bump going into turn 3, ended up spinning Chase out. Thankfully, Chase was able to keep it down on the apron and spin into the grass and not get much damage compared to the damage. Oh, he was also part of the wreck on lap 2, by the way. He had some damage, but thankfully that incident with Ross Chastain didn't cause too much more damage for Chase, and he was able to keep going. And then another incident. Well, this isn't an incident. This is a highlight of the race. These drivers were 4 wide at Atlanta, a 1.5 mile racetrack, for an entire lap and did not crash. So Austin Cindric, he had a lot of momentum coming down the front stretch and made a move to the inside and made it 4 wide. I forgot who he was 4 wide with, but they made it a whole lap around without wrecking, which was very impressive. It was very fun to see, very clean racing, especially 4 wide for an entire lap. And then there was another crash in turn 3 involving Brad Keselowski. He went into the corner. He got loose and just kind of spun out and then collected Kyle Larson and Corey LaJoie. They just had nowhere to go. They were pinned up against the wall and couldn't slow down in time, ran straight into him. Kyle Larson would be done for the day. I think LaJoie was able to continue a little bit, but Kyle Larson was done. And then there was another big crash with 20 laps to go, and they tried to make it 4 wide again. This time it did not work. Chase Briscoe made a move to the inside, and Denny Hamlin was right next to him, and they went into turn 3. They made contact just ever so slightly. Denny Hamlin got into the left rear of Chase Briscoe, sent him spinning. Hard hit for Briscoe that would end his day. And then there was another crash that set up a restart with 5 laps to go. And this is when it gets a lot more fun and interesting, if it wasn't already interesting and fun for the first 95% of this race. So there was a restart with 5 laps to go. The front row was Daniel Suarez and Ryan Blaney. And then Kyle Busch, Martin Truex Jr. were row 2. Bubba Wallace and Austin Cindric were row 3. And it was side-by-side racing, moves going left and right. Ryan Blaney trying to control the race those final few laps. He was in the lead coming to the white flag. Daniel Suarez got a run on the outside, and so did Kyle Busch, pretty much at the exact same time. So Kyle Busch threads the needle, makes it 3 wide. Ryan Blaney, Kyle Busch, Daniel Suarez, 3 wide all the way through turns 3 and 4. Off of turn 4, down the front stretch, nose to nose, all 3 of them coming to the finish line. And it was a photo finish. Like, when they first crossed the start-finish line, personally, I thought Ryan Blaney won the race. I thought, being the car on the bottom, he had a little bit more of an advantage. So I thought Ryan Blaney won. But the pylon on the TV said Daniel Suarez, and obviously they had to go back and replay the finish and, slow motion, all that stuff. But they did confirm Daniel Suarez did win this race. Heck of a finish. Arguably one of the best I've ever seen. I'll get back to that in a second. But Daniel Suarez ends up getting the win. So let me quickly go over some of the top results, and then we'll talk about a little bit more about the race. So Daniel Suarez, Ryan Blaney, Kyle Busch, 1, 2, 3. Austin Cindric, 4th. The only Penske car not in here is Joey Logano, who obviously got involved in one of those crashes. Bubba Wallace, top 5. Ricky Stenhouse Jr., 6th. Ross Chastain, 7th. Mike McDowell, 8th. Chris Buescher, 9th. Ty Gibbs, 10th. So let's start off about talking about Mr. Daniel Suarez himself, who really needed a win. And Matthew and I kind of talked about this off camera, but Daniel Suarez might have just saved his seat for 2025. This was a contract year for him. Needed to have a good performance. Daytona was a rough outing for Daniel Suarez, and I was like, that's it. Like, I don't think Daniel Suarez is going to be back next year. And then comes right back the next week, proves me wrong, wins in Atlanta. So that might have just saved Daniel Suarez's seat for 2025. In my opinion, I think he still needs to, prove himself on ovals, road courses, other tracks as well. He definitely needs to be a lot more consistent this year. But I would not be surprised if he is back with Trackhouse in 2025, just because of this win in general. But great win for Daniel Suarez. Great guy. He's always been up and down in the Cup Series. He's had a lot of different opportunities. Glad to see he's found a home at Trackhouse for right now. Second career win. Very good. Very happy for Daniel Suarez there. Brad Keselowski and Joey Logano, they still can't find victory lane on these drafting tracks ever since last year. I think the last of them to win was Logano at Atlanta last year, this race a year ago. And, everybody comes into these races talking about, oh my goodness, you got to watch out for Brad Keselowski and Joey Logano and Ryan Blaney and all the Fords. And now look who ended up in victory lane today. Look who ended up in victory lane in the Daytona 500 last week. 2 Chevys in a row. So I'm just kind of curious to see when these...
How about who's went to victory lane in all 3 series, basically, in Daytona, Atlanta? All Chevrolets.
Yeah, so the Fords, they may look like the cars to beat on these super speedway races, but they got to get to the end. Ryan Blaney and Austin Cindric did in this race, but last week at Daytona, Blaney, Logano, and Keselowski were all involved in that big wreck. This week, Logano made a bad block. He ended up getting wrecked. But Ryan Blaney and Cindric were there this week. But I'm just wondering when these Fords are going to break through and start showing the dominance that everybody expects out of them. Because every time we go to a drafting track, everybody's like, oh man, we got to watch out for the Fords. And I agree. I think every time we go to a drafting track, the Fords should be the ones to watch. But I'm just wondering, when are they going to put it together and finally get one of those cars in victory lane? And then my final comment is about the racing. Actually, I have 2 more comments. I'll talk about the racing first. In my opinion, I think this was a way better race than the Daytona 500. Not for the carnage, because there was a lot of wrecks. I'm just talking about for the pure, just green flag racing that we saw. Yes, it was double file, but the runs these cars could get down straight away, they could just dive to the bottom and dive right back up in front of whoever they were trying to pass. And the finish speaks for itself as well. We got a green flag finish, obviously. But yeah, very good race, in my opinion. Arguably one of the best, if not the best, with the next gen car. And then my final comment, real quick, is going to be about the Fox broadcast. And it wasn't bad. It was not bad at all. But Dale Jr. did put out a tweet, and I agree with him, that Fox, the camera guys, they just zoom in way too much on what's going on. Like, you just can't see everything else going on at the racetrack. I guess he was at the race, because he tweeted something like, if you guys were here at the track right now, you could see a whole lot more than what's going on the TV or something like that. But the broadcast wasn't terrible. That's just my only critique about, zooming in. And I think we had the same issue with that at the Clash, I believe. They missed a bunch of stuff at the Clash as well. So hopefully Fox can tweak that as they go throughout the season, and hopefully the ratings are good as well, because this was the race after they Daytona 500. Hopefully they promoted, that Atlanta is going to be a lot like Daytona, this type of racing and all that kind of stuff. So hopefully the ratings are pretty good. They did get the race in without no issues of weather, thankfully. The first week all year that they haven't had to deal with any rain all weekend long. So hopefully the ratings are pretty good for this race. It showed for it. It deserves a good rating based on what we saw. So hopefully a lot of people tuned in. But those are all of my comments about the race. Matthew, what are your thoughts about what you saw from Atlanta this weekend?
Wow. I mean, that is a lot of details right there. A lot to break down, and that's a good thing because this race was just, it was just fantastic. I mean, the racing was just absolutely amazing, side by side the whole time, most of the time. There were three wide. Heck, there were even four wide at a few moments here and there. Like the pass for the lead with Austin Cindric making it four wide, and then it back in like second place, it was four wide. So I mean, this race was just fantastic all around. I mean, Atlanta has become the one of the top destination racetracks to go to, like Dale Jr. mentioned last year after the July race. He said this was the highest ticket of the season, and so far he has been proven right after what we just saw tonight. It was a great crowd. I don't think it was sold out, but it looked like it was mostly full, so that was great seeing that crowd there. Hopefully, in the playoff race, it'll be sold out after. I think it will after this race. Um, First and foremost, I just want to talk about the finish first because wow, just wow. I mean, it was literally. I've been seeing a bunch of memes literally the past couple of hours. It's literally the Cars finish at the beginning of the Cars movie with Lightning McQueen sticking his tongue out and all that. It's literally like that. It's insane. Um, First and foremost, congratulations to Daniel Suarez, his second career Cup Series win. I mean, this he was coming in this season with a lot of pressure. I mean, Trackhouse Racing has grown so much over this all season, bringing in a big sponsor like Busch Beer. They even have their own. They even have a Moto GP team, which I don't really keep up with, but I know that's like a big series international. Um, they also have signed a bunch of other drivers like Zane Smith, Shane Van Gisbergen, who, by the way, finished third at the Atlanta race this week in Xfinity. Congrats to him. And also this other kid named Connor Silich, which he will be making some part-time Xfinity truck starts, from what I've heard. They have they have like five drivers under contract this year, and only two Cup Series charters. And of course, a lot of people were turning their heads to Suarez because his last season, he was absolutely disappointing. I mean, didn't win any races. He missed the playoffs, more importantly. And a lot of people had their eyes on that ride. Like, man, this season, Suarez better step it up. Well, I say the second race of the season by winning and locking himself in the playoffs is a great first step into that. Of course, this doesn't mean he's guaranteed that he'll be back. I mean, he'll be back. He still needs to, we need to see this in Las Vegas next week. We still need to see this on the road courses, on short tracks. I mean, with this win now, I'm sure that possibility of that is going to be better now. Now that he's got a bunch of stress out from this win. But I mean, what a great win for Suarez. Like I said, perfect timing considering all the rumors that were going around. And I think he's going to have a great 2024 season now after this. Now, Ryan Blaney, he has been always in the best end of the stick when it comes to these photo finishes, which mostly has always been Talladega for the most part. And he's been in a lot of these side by side photo finishes. And for once, he did not win, but he had a strong car all day today. And Kyle Busch, which I admit, well, while I was watching I was watching the finish on TV. I'm like, man, I knew immediately like he didn't cross the line first. I saw like split second. He was like a little bit behind Suarez and Blaney. I'm like, nah, he didn't get that, but still, it was like, man, so close. But I can't honestly be salty about that just because what an amazing finish that was. I mean, he didn't do anything wrong. He did everything that he needed to do. It's just didn't get the perfect run at the right time. But yeah, that was the third closest finish in NASCAR history, by the way, which I think it's just behind Ricky Craven, Kurt Busch from Darlington 2003, and then Jimmy Johnson and Clint Boyer, I think, in Talladega in 2011. Third closest finish in NASCAR history. Absolutely amazing. Um, let's see. I mean, there was also a lot of chaos involved in this race as well. Of course, the big crash in lap two, which another thing, these next gen cars are just absolutely amazing when it comes to these wrecks. I mean, that was literally like almost half the field in lap two. And as far as I knew, only one car went out of the race from that incident, and everyone else was able to continue, which was absolutely amazing. I mean, and Denny Hamlin, who at the end of stage two, he got collected in that wreck with Joe Logano and Chris Buescher. I mean, he smashed the front nose of that car and spun out, and he didn't even pit. I mean, he restarted like third. I'm like, he didn't wait. He just got involved in this wreck. Where did he come from? But it just shows how durable these cars are, which I think helps make these super speedway races even much better because not it's not gonna be like oh, this wreck happened, everyone's out of the race like the old car did. So that's a positive right there. Let's see. Anything else? I don't think so. I mean, I think I just said what the most important thing was just this amazing finish. But yeah, what a fantastic race. I mean, I cannot wait till September when they come back here for the there to the playoffs. So I love Atlanta, and all the people that were literally crying about this whole repave. You, I mean, what could you say now? I mean, this is just way more amazing here. This is so much better to watch, and we have seen some of the best Atlanta races that we have ever seen at this track. So I gotta say, the repave was a big, massive success, and it also helps that this track ages a lot, way faster too. And a lot of people are making comparisons with this track to how Daytona was back in the mid 2000s before it got repaved when it was all bumpy and I mean, and handling mattered more, a lot more, and throttle control mattered a lot more, and we saw that in Atlanta tonight. So, I mean, we found like a perfect super speedway combo here, I think. So, yeah, fantastic race. That's all I need to say.
Yeah, definitely a great race. Speaking of great race, let's go ahead and rate the race, and then we also have our paint scheme of the race as well. So for me, I think I have to rate this race a 10 out of 10. I think I have to do it. I don't think I can do any less than that. I was considering doing like 9.5 or something like that, just because it is early in the season and we might get something a little bit better than that, but it's going to be pretty hard to beat that. So I think I'm going to give this race a 10 out of 10, a very rare one for me. And then my paint scheme of the race, it might surprise Matthew just a little bit, just because it's not really one that stood out or that much during the race. But I actually kind of like Chase Briscoe's High Point car. It's just a simple blue and white, and then the blue number. I'm pretty sure it was a chrome number. So just the simple white and blue chrome number. Simple is good sometimes, and I like that. So I'll say that was my favorite paint scheme of the race. So, Matthew, what are you going to rate this race, and what was your favorite paint scheme from the race as well?
I gotta give it a 10 out of 10 too. I can't give it anything lower than that. This had everything. Amazing racing, a lot of chaos, strategy, four wide passes for the lead, and a three wide photo finish. It's a 10 out of 10. I can't do anything lower than that. This is fantastic. And as for the paint scheme of this race, I'm going to go with Bubba Wallace's money line paint scheme. Which I knew a lot of people they didn't like this scheme because last year's paint scheme was just fantastic, the money line scheme. And I still love the last year paint scheme more than this one, but I still like this one. I love the all teal. I think it had like chrome outline on the number, which I like that. And it's pretty simple. So I really like the money line paint scheme for Bubba Wallace.
Yeah, I wish that the teal was just a little bit more blue. It's kind of more green than blue, but it still looks pretty good. But yeah, I think that's pretty much going to wrap up the video. Next weekend is going to be Las Vegas, the first quote unquote real racetrack of the season. So it's going to be very important. It's going to be very important to see who's strong there because that's going to determine who's going to run well throughout most of the season since it's a mile and a half track. But yeah, not too much off track news this week either to really talk about. So I'm sure as the year goes on, we'll have some more of that to talk about. But Matthew, do you have any other closing thoughts before we go ahead and finish this video up?
Yes, actually, about the truck race. Can we talk about how someone's truck, the roof flew off and turned into a convertible, basically, like you see in the 50s races? Which that is one of the most bizarre things I've ever seen in a race. Someone's roof blew off. I mean, you would think the truck was upside down or something, but it just blew off, which by the way, I think that's going to be a big penalty because I literally was texting you this, Jimmy. I saw that 41 truck, Bailey Curley, that's the driver. His windshield was like bent, and I'm like, that does not look right. And I remember Zane Smith in Homestead last year had a bent windshield like that, and he got a penalty from that sometime in the week. And with this, I think this penalty is going to be a little more severe just because the roof of the truck came off, which that is a big safety problem, right? A big safety issue right there. I mean, I think that Ty Dillon hit the roof and actually damaged his truck, and that would not have been that's not a good look. So yeah, quite bizarre.
Yeah, and also that quickly reminded me of speaking of penalties. I think in the Cup Series there was penalties for 2 of the SHR cars for something wrong with their car. So something might come out later this week
Oh, it
about
was
that.
the roof, like the roof fins or something, or the roof, whatever that. Something on the roof. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was some type of the fins that they might not be on the roof. They might be like just behind the roof on the back windshield, maybe, or something like that. I don't know. But NASCAR confiscated 2 of those or didn't like them. So there might be penalties about that later in the week, which we'll talk about in the next video if penalties end up coming out. But that is going to wrap up this video. Thank you guys for watching. We hope you enjoyed it. Also, hope you enjoyed the race from Atlanta. If you guys ended up watching, fantastic race. Definitely top spot for race of the year. I know it's only 2 races in, but I think it's going to hold that spot for quite a while. So hope you guys enjoyed that race. Thank you guys for all your support. Make sure you check out our links down below, and we'll see you guys in the next video.